This is a quick introduction into Elastic Beanstalk. So if you are not familiar with what Elastic Beanstalk is, this introduction will be helpful for you. Elastic Beanstalk is a managed server environment, which means that AWS manages the host, the operating system, the language interpreter, application, servers for you, and you focus building your application. Elastic Beanstalk can support multiple platforms that include IIS environments running .NET Framework, PHP applications, Node application, Ruby, Go applications, Java applications, Python, and Docker environments. You can also define your custom platforms. For example, if you want to have an IIS environment with certain libraries and certain Windows features enabled, you can always create your own environment and then provide that machine image for Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk is very customizable. What happens behind the scene is that Elastic Beanstalk is going to spin up EC2 instance with certain machine images. And if you want, you can, of course, remote login into them. But in production environment, you don't usually remote login. You don't specify a key or access key to login into those machines. So how does this work behind the scene is another interesting question. So how Elastic Beanstalk is organized is that you have Elastic Beanstalk, which is an abstraction over a set of compute network or even database resources. Elastic Beanstalk provides all the resources that you want to run and web server environment. That includes load balancers, the networking, the security groups, then things like the DNS configurations. So inside the Elastic Beanstalk, you create an abstract called an application. So you can have multiple applications. So here I have represented application 1, application 2. You can have multiple applications. So inside a given application, you have this thing called application versions. So you can have version 1, version 2, version 3. So as many application releases that you release to the application, they will be stored in the application version repository. You also have this concept called environments. So environment is a running instance of an application. So you can have one environment, your testing environment, your development environment, your production environment, if you like. So it's an arbitrary number of environments that you can define inside an application. So once your environment is running, you can deploy any application version into that. For example, you can deploy version 1 of the application into environment 2 and environment N. You can deploy the version N to environment 1. You can also swap this environment. For example, you can swap the URL of environment 1 with environment 2. A good example of this one is, imagine that you are going to do some deployment into your pre-production environment. And once you have done the testing, you want to swap the URL of the pre-production environment with the production environment. With a click of a button, you can do that. So these applications spin up EC2 instances. So you can run this Elastic Beanstalk application in a virtual private cloud that you have defined. So it doesn't run on Amazon defined hidden VPC. So for example, you can have your own virtual private cloud with private subnets and public subnets. So for example, environment 1 may have 4 instances running in the private subnet. Environment 2 may have another set of EC2 instances running on private subnet. You can have another environment that runs 4 instances in set of public subnets. You can also have another VPC and then target these environments to run on that VPC. So you have the ability to customize how these environments are created. And also you do have some control over these EC2 instances.